Vector Analysis 1, Part 2, Scalar Product. Dot product is a scalar product. Scalar means size. So that means we're just going to get the final answer we're going to get. We're not going to get vector, we're going to get a number whenever we use scalar product. So we just get a number. And this process is dot product. Dot here, there's the dot. So if you have two vectors A and B, so we do A dot B, that's a scalar product, will be equal to the magnitude of A times the magnitude of B times cos of the angle between them, which is cos of theta. So the dot implies times. So A times B. So you can see where theta is the angle between A and B, and where A modulus and B modulus are the moduli. Moduli is plural for modulus of A and B. So if you have a vector A, which is AXI plus AYJ plus AZK, and a vector B, which is BXI plus BYJ plus BZK, do remember that I, J, and K are unit vectors. It means their value is 1. Unit is 1. So that means this is 1, that's 1, that's 1. So there's a thing that if we have I times I, well, I times I will have the same angle because they're both parallel to each other. So that's I times I. So I times I will have the same angle. So that means the angle between them is 0. So they're parallel between them. So the angle between them is 0. So because the angle between them is 0, so that means you're going to get 1 times 1 cos of 0. Cos of 0 is 1. So that means I times I is 1. So I times I is equal to J times J because they're parallel, equals to K times K, which means it's 1 times 1, because their values is 1, cos of the angle 0, and cos of 0 is 1, so they have 1 times 1 times 1 equals 1, because cos of 0 is 1. But if you multiply I and J, which means AXI times BYJ, if you multiply AXI times BYJ, so you have to do AX times BY, and then I times J. Well, I times J, they are at right angle to each other, because this is I, that's J, so the angle between them is 90 degrees. So if you then multiply I times J, or I times K, or J times K, which are all parallel to perpendicular to each other, not parallel, they're perpendicular to each other, and their angle is 90 degrees. Cos of 90 degrees is 0. Even though their value is 1 times 1, cos of 90, that would be because we're using that. So that's 1 times 1, cos of 90. Cos of 90 is 0, which means it will all be 0, because cos of 90 is 0. So I times J is 0. Well, I times J is 1 times cos of 90 is 0. So that I times J is 0, I times K is 0, J times K is 0, because they are perpendicular to each other. And if we're using scalar product or dot product, then we're using that, and then their values in this case will be 0 if they're at right angle to each other. But if they're parallel to each other, well, if they're parallel, that means the angle between them is 0. So 1 times 1 times cos of 0, which is 90, which is cos of 0 is 1. So that means that I times I is 1. So we can only multiply, well, you can do all that, you can multiply that with that, and that with that, and that with that, but you will get 0 for these two when multiply with those. And you will get AX, BX for that one. Likewise, if you multiply these with that, you get 0, because j times I is 0. AY times BY, so you get AY times BY. And then AY times BZ will be 0 because J times K is 0 because they are right angle to each other and the cos of 90 is 0. Cos of 90 is 0. So that's why. Do remember that A dot B is also equal to B dot A whenever you do scalar product. Also, you can expand this one, A dot B plus A dot C. So that is equal to that. Let's try an example with scalar product. So here's an example where we have example to find the angle between two vectors A and B. And vector A has this value and vector V has that value. So the first thing we need to recognize is that we need to use the scalar product. So if you're using scalar product, which is the dot product, in this case it's going to be A dot B. That means A times B equals modulus of A times modulus of B, cos of the angle between them, which is theta. So now what we can do now is to find that one. We know how to find A dot B because we can only do I times I. So we can do 2I times 1I, and that would just be 2 because I times I is 1. And well, this is minus, so we do plus because we add them, so that would be minus 3j times 2j. That will be, well, let's just put times 2 and plus 4 times 5. So 4k times 5k would be 4 times 5 because k times k is 1. So altogether we should get 2 minus 6 plus 20, and that equals 16. So that's 16. So A dot B is 16. As you can see, we find it by doing I times I is 1, 2 times 1 is 2. That's how we got that. Minus 3j times 2j, that's minus 3 times 2, j times j is 1. 4 times 5 is 20, 4 times 5 there. K times k is 1. Right. Okay, but we couldn't do 2i times 2j because j times I is 0. So that would cancel 4 anyway. 4 times 0 is 0. Likewise, we couldn't do 2i times 5k because that would be 10 times 0, and that would be 0 because I times k would be 0. So we found AB. Now we need to find modulus of A. So to find modulus of A, so we do A modulus, and that would be square root of 2 squared plus minus 3 squared plus 4 squared, and that will be equal to square root 4 plus 9 plus 16, which is square root, that will be square root of 29, because 4, that's 29. Now we need to find modulus of B. Modulus of B will be, again, square root. Now in this case, 1 squared, so that will be 1 squared plus 2 squared plus 5 squared, and that will be square root of, that's 1 plus 4 plus 25, that will be square root of 30. So now we found the modulus of A and modulus of B, which is those two here. So now we can find the angle theta. We know what AB is, A dot B, since we're using dot product, we're using scalar product is dot product. So now we can say, let's find the angle that we need to find. So if we rearrange this equation, now we can get cos theta will be equal to A dot B divided by modulus of A divided by modulus of B, and that will be 16 divided by root. Well, you multiply root 29 by root 30, so that will be root 30 times 29, and that will be equal to, which implies that I can now find theta. So theta will be equal to cos to the power minus 1, 16 over root 30 times 29. So theta will be 57 degrees 9 minutes. So that's the angle between the two vectors A and B. And that angle is 57 degrees 9 minutes. How did I get 57 degrees 9 minutes? Well, you would get 57. So if I just do that again, so that'll be theta. Let's just write that down clearly. So theta will be 57.149,368, and then you want to write the 57 degrees, and then the minute is going to be 0.149368 times 60, because we want to change that degrees to minute. So you times it by 60. So that's degrees, 0.149368 degrees. Times it by 60, you get the 8 point something. And that's roughly 9 minutes. So that will, so then that will be plus. So that will be, that's how we got the 57 degrees 9 minutes.